Welcome back to the channel, guys, and right on the desk here we've got a monitor sent in from a company that I've actually never had any experience before with, and that is Viotek. They've sent out their new GN27C2, which is 1080p 144 Hz VA panel. So it uses a Samsung panel, 3 display inputs as well, DisplayPort, and also 2 HDMI 2.1s. But the main thing is this good value for money? It comes in at $240 US in the US. I can't find it for sale anywhere in Australia, but like with always with the monitor reviews around here, we're gonna go through all the paces, response times, input lag, all that goodness. So strap on in, but I will say before we strap on in, one thing I already found useful with this monitor is I can use it as like a sparring instrument. Like it's really lightweight, so I can pick it up and like box with it. So it's pretty cool. And here we are with all the testing done and dusted on the Viotek monitor. Some things I have to point out about this panel first of all. The overdrive, there's 3 different settings besides off, so 4 in total. You've got low, medium, and fast. The fast is the only setting you would want to use on this monitor, and in fact it's still even bad at that. The average response times of what we were recording with the 1000 FPS camera in CSGO on transitions was around 13 to 14 milliseconds. And now with a 144 Hz panel, you've got around an average of 7 milliseconds before the next frame's introduced, which means that you will see 3 different images in one frame on this monitor. We just took a look at the Philips monitor, and on the fastest setting there, it was able to still transition and it still had a really fast response time with a VA panel. So this VA panel, it may be okay, but the way they've implemented the overdrive is not that good. The input lag, however, is phenomenal. It's really good. There's virtually none. Total system input lag was 8 milliseconds on the worst frame, 24 milliseconds on the best frame. So anywhere between 0 to 10 milliseconds on this panel, which is really good. But going through the OSD, it's a basic OSD, has 5 buttons. You've got the crosshair as well. You've got only 5 different modes to choose from. There's no real option to make saturation or change the gamma, so it's very basic. There's also FreeSync support built into the monitor. Plus, of course, you've got no option for low input lag. It's just set on by default. There's also your basic brightness settings and contrast settings, and your red, green, and blues if you wish to change a color profile towards your own liking. But of course, taking a look at that brightness setting with the watt meter, we measured 34 watts with 100 brightness max CCD, which went up to 290. And then on 48, which is where I like to have my monitors, 160 CCD, this was using up around 24 watts at 144 Hertz. So it does have low power consumption, relatively low power consumption for a monitor. The curve is 1800R as well. And moving through some other tests on this monitor, we had the orange background showing a little bit of visible cross-hatching when you looked at it closely. We did get this on camera, so you can see this. And this is at 144 Hertz too. Changes to 60 Hertz didn't make a difference. So I'm not entirely sure if this is due to the matte coating on it, which is anti-glare and does have anti-glare properties, or if it's the actual panel implemented itself, whether it be B-grade stock or not. But moving on with the black background, we've got here no backlight bleed, which is great to see, and the whites were very uniform across the whole panel. Slight shift to the bottom left on this particular panel, the grays and the dark grays as well, matching that. Now there is no Srgb option out of the box. So there's no profile for that. So what you have to do if you want to calibrate this is you have to change the settings quite considerably. With my X-Rite device tool, I found that the lows, mid, and high keys were all off, as well as pretty much every color. So if you're using this for video work and you needed accurate video work on a budget, I wouldn't recommend this monitor as it is a little bit off for colors, brightness, and accuracy. Now moving on to some other intricacies with this monitor, we have a flicker-free panel. This was shown with the camera going all the way up to 4000 Hertz, exhibiting absolutely no flicker at all. Speakers, it does include speakers, and they are so tinny. I wouldn't even probably use these for a Skype call. This is probably the worst speakers I've heard on a monitor, so do not rely on these for regular everyday audio. Even at 100 volume, I couldn't really hear much coming out of these. And again, it was so tinny. It was like they've just put a tweeter in this thing. There's no HDR option, but that's a good thing on an 8-bit panel like this. I'd rather save some money and not have that implemented. because it pretty much looks terrible on any of these VA panels that have come through here at the moment. But now moving on to the last thing we've got to talk about with this monitor is VESA mountable, so you can take the stand off and then put the bracket on and mount it to the wall or another monitor stand, which I actually would recommend if you want to purchase this, even just getting like a $10 or $20 stand, because the included stand is so flimsy, the monitor is just shaking. There's no height adjustment, there's no tilt adjustment, no swivel. It's just a stand that makes it so lightweight that, as you saw in the intro, I could use this thing as probably a sparring tool, and it's that light, which is weird for a monitor. I just picked this up, I was like, wow, where's the weight in this? And after all this testing and tinkering, this leaves us to conclusion time with the Viotek GN27C2. You're getting a lot of panel for your money. $240, 144 Hz, VA, 1080p, 27 inch. Curved as well, 1800R curvature, has good viewing angles, backlight bleed is not noticeable, great white uniformity, colors are good, but the response times are some of the worst I've seen for a 144 Hz VA panel. So the implementation of the overdrive just seems like it's probably not even there. It's just a fake overdrive. I don't even know, because we had a response time of 13 to 14 milliseconds, and at those times, it can even get a little bit worse than that. And sometimes it's even slightly worse than that, because sometimes you're seeing 3 images on 1 frame. So if you like motion blur automatically on default when you're playing any single game at 144 Hz, then you're gonna get that with this Viotek monitor. I recently reviewed the Philips monitor, and although it's of course more expensive, it has a much better overdrive feature and implementation of that. However, the input lag is really good. It's low, it's extremely low, some of the best I've seen yet. But the build quality really is the main thing that's stopping me from making this a solid recommendation. It is easily the most flimsiest and cheap feeling monitor that I've had come through here and actually owned or experienced in the last decade. For instance, when I was using this as well after testing it, there's this little smell coming out of the top of the monitor too. Smells like something's burning a little bit too. And the power consumption isn't even that high. It's actually really good at 34 watts max. And so now this leads me to the recommendation of, unfortunately, no with this monitor. But I can see the appeal of it. It does have a really good panel for the money, but there's just a couple of problems mixed in. The main being the slow response times, even on the best overdrive setting. It's just too slow in my opinion for 144 Hz. And that coupled with the poor build quality, I mean, just look at this thing, it's just wobbles so easily and there's absolutely no adjustments on the included stand itself, leaves me just feeling like they could have done a lot better even just for a little bit more. And on top of all that, they only give out a 1-year warranty with this monitor. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you think of the Viotek GN27C2? Would love to read your thoughts and opinions. And I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button, and I'll catch you in another tech review very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.